Today's guest is someone whose story feels painfully familiar to so many therapists, practice owners, and clinician founders. In August 2024, Sarah Olson hit a burnout wall so hard it stopped everything: her momentum, her routines, her identity, and her relationship with her own body. What came next wasn't a quick fix, but a slow reconstruction of how she works, leads, and lives. Welcome to Off the Chair, the podcast where clinicians stop playing by the rules, push back on the system, and say what everyone else is thinking. I'm Dr. Colleen Long, psychologist, seven-figure group practice owner, and unapologetically calling BS on the burnout culture of this field. This isn't your typical self-care tips and gratitude journal kind of show. We're talking real talk, from the chaos of building a private practice to the mental load of being the strong one all the time. You'll hear behind-the-scenes truths about leadership, boundaries, messy growth, identity shifts, and what happens when therapists start dreaming beyond the chair. If you're over the toxic positivity, the culture building, the done pretending you love every client, and secretly wondering, is this all there is? You're our people. Let's burn the rule book, get loud, and get off the chair. If you've ever felt like you're holding your practice together by force of will, or that your worth is tied to how much you produce, this conversation is going to land deeply. Welcome back to Off the Chair, the podcast for clinicians who are done trading their time for money and who want to build careers that actually support their lives instead of consuming them. I'm your host, Dr. Colleen Long, and I'm here with candid conversations about burnout, entrepreneurship, leadership, and breaking the therapy model that keeps so many of us stuck in the chair. Guest today is Sarah Olson, LCSW, the owner of Champaign Counseling in Illinois. She's been in the social work field for over 20 years and has spent the past 15 specializing in couples therapy with the Gottman method and EMDR. Sarah experienced profound burnout in August 2024, the kind of burnout that forced her to stop everything and rebuild her life from the inside out. Over the past year, she's completely redefined how she works. She now builds her schedule around her body's needs, prioritizes rest without guilt, and no longer treats productivity as the measure of her worth. She's open, honest, grounded, and she's launching EMDR and couples therapy intensive in early 2026. Sarah, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So, personal note, Sarah and I, we were in the same mastermind together, and the mastermind is it was put together by my business mentor, and I think it was sort of a hodgepodge of group practice owners at varying levels of timeline, right? So we had some people in there who had just started, and they were, kind of like, all right, the world's my oyster, and there's this endless possibilities. And then there's me and Sarah that are like, just like we've been in the grind for years, and we're like, I am trapped by this thing that I thought was going to give me freedom. And Sarah was one of the few voices in there that made me feel normal, because I sort of treated the mastermind, and I don't know if it was the purpose. I treated it as my group therapy. So I was very honest with everybody, and pretty much every week felt like the Debbie Downer, and everybody else was like, oh my God, it's like so amazing. I got into Goldman Sachs program and just like the money and just like printing it. And I was like, my house is in danger of being taken by the bank next week, and I don't know how I'm going to make payroll, and I'm trapped. And people were just sort of like deer in headlights, like, shit, I don't know. So when you came in and you were talking about your story, you were and I'll let you go more into depth with it, but you were at such a severe place that it was the only thing that made me feel normal. So thank you for your vulnerability. And I am going to shut up and let you talk about your.
So I ran the practice for 9 years, 8 years at that time, and was very much motivated, excited. I wanted to have multiple locations, and I wanted to just be a place in the community where folks could come and heal and feel supported, and we'd all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Um, but that is not at all what reality was. And so in August of 2024, it got to the point where I would get to work and I couldn't even think straight. I would just sit at my desk and cry. Um, and I would tell my husband, like, I don't know what's going on. This was worse than just having an occasional bad day here and there, or even a bad week. Things were going relatively smoothly at the practice. So there wasn't really anything that I could pinpoint. This is the reason why I feel like I'm falling apart. But I absolutely was falling apart. And finally, the breaking point was one weekend. I was laying in bed because at that point I was like sleeping as much as I possibly could
Mm,
because that really felt like the only time I got a break because my brain was just constantly going. And I had my email app on my phone. I was constantly checking and I, would open up my laptop even during family time. Like there was
mm,
zero boundaries,
mhm.
absolutely zero boundaries.
At that point, was that new for you to sleep like that? I mean, I know some people, they just sleep longer, right? Like 10, 11 hours. So at that point, was there starting to be a red flag in your head of like, I mean, we all know Siggy caps as therapists for depression. Was that starting to go, oh, this might actually be clinical?
Yes, absolutely. I had started with a new prescriber who was a psychiatric nurse practitioner and had actually started TMS because I was feeling like, oh my gosh, this really is starting to feel like depression. And I'd experienced depression before. So, and, I'm a therapist, so I should
Right.
know these things and to know all the coping mechanisms, right?
Hmm.
To be able to dig my way out. And so I was laying in bed one weekend and it wasn't feeling like the TMS was doing much. And I just felt really hopeless. And some thoughts flashed in my mind about like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like if this is what it's going to be about, I can't do it. So when it got to that point, I told my husband and he really helped me see like enough is enough. We need to make a huge change. And fortunately, I had an appointment scheduled with my prescriber that following Monday. And my husband came with, and we sat with him and just talked about what was going on. I couldn't focus. I've always been an organized person and have really liked systems and stuck with the systems, but it was like chaotic, just
Mm,
pure chaos. It felt like so my family has ADHD. I was the only one that didn't have that diagnosis. So I jokingly said, like, I feel like I caught ADHD. Like what I've watched my husband and kids deal with of just like jumping from thing to thing. I can't finish anything. I was also forgetting things, word finding issues. It was really scary. I
mm.
felt like I was losing my mind.
Wow. Were you at a point where you actually started to have a plan in place?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. At that point, I just was like, I do not want to leave that pain to my kids
Mm,
or my husband. And I believe that there's more to life than just working yourself to death. But my behavior was not matching that belief. I, you know, if somebody had been following me around for those last several months in particular, and I asked them, what is my priority? It absolutely would have been work is first above everything else. And when a work issue comes up, I had it in my head that nobody else could deal with it except
mm,
me, even though
mhm.
I had set up a leadership team that they were more than capable. I just really got in my own way and could not figure out how to undo it because
Yeah.
as soon as I would hand something off, then I would rush back in and say, oh, well, what if we do it this way instead?
So that was a big pain point for you was being able to delegate.
Right. I
Got
could
it.
not delegate to save my life.
Okay.
Not at home, not at work. I couldn't.
Okay.
It just felt like, you know what? It will just take too much time to explain how to
Mhm.
do whatever the task was. So I'll
Mhm.
just do it myself and I'll figure out, training that person
Mm.
later on. And then later
And
would
add
come
that
and
to the mental load that moms carry. So you're doing that probably at home and at work. Yeah.
right, exactly. So my husband and the nurse practitioner that I was seeing, they convinced me to step away from the practice for 2 weeks. And that took a lot of convincing because I was like, oh my gosh, do you
Mhm.
know what can fall apart in 2 weeks?
The world is gonna go off its axis.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so the next day, my husband came with me into work, and he has been an employee of the practice since it started. He's just done a lot of the behind the scenes stuff
Mm.
on a very part-time basis and has another full-time job as well. And so he really didn't have much day-to-day interaction with the
Mm.
team. But we sat down with our leadership team and I just laid it all out and was completely honest with them about where I was at. And we decided on a month, excuse me, that I would take a month off, which again felt monumental. And in my mind, I really felt like, you know what? After 2 weeks, I'll be fine. I'll be ready to come back.
Mhm.
No big deal.
When you're talking to your team, who does that consist of? What's your relationship like? Can you cry? Can you be vulnerable? Or is this like a very like polished presentation?
Definitely not polished at all. There were lots of tears on my end. They were at the time both site supervisors because I had set up to have two locations, but actually earlier that year had a realization of like, oh my gosh, two locations is too much for me. And so I was able to find somebody, I was able to find somebody to rent my location. And
Mhm.
so we were able to condense into back into just one location. And I thought, oh, well, that'll be enough to like offload the stress and I'll be good now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was, I think, already at that point too late. I was already kind of on a,
Burned.
yeah,
You're burned.
I
Yeah.
really was. And I was really lucky that my leadership team, so the two site supervisors, were incredibly supportive. They were confident that they could hold the fort down, and they were like, "Yeah, you need to take a break. This makes total sense. We've seen your stress load and it's okay. We'll we'll handle it." And my husband was able to be part of leadership meetings and checking in on a regular basis. And he was kind of the go-between that any information about the practice would go through him first, and he would determine what would get to
Get
me.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful because those first few weeks, I did a lot of sleeping. I was just so exhausted. And I wound up taking 4 months off
Mm.
instead of just the 1 month because at the 1 month period, I had finally stopped having that constant thought of, I've got to check my email. I've got,
Mhm.
anytime I would sit down, I need to check my email. And it was like my nervous system just was
Resetting.
so, yeah, it really needed a big reset.
Were you filling your cup in any way when you took that time off? Did you have a sort of treatment plan for yourself where you're like, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to exercise, I'm off my phone for this amount of time? What was your plan?
So I started off that way and I felt like I've got to have a plan in place and it's got to be measurable goals and all the
That's
things.
how crazy I am, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a treatment plan for my own depression.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
And my own therapist who I've seen for years and years. And as a therapist, I think we all need our own therapist, but
Mhm.
that's another story.
100%.
She was like, I don't think that we need to come up with a plan. Like, let's just take
Just go to bed.
one day at a time.
Just go to sleep. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that really allowed me to start unraveling how much I connected my worth with my productivity. And at home, I thought, well, now that I'm at home all the time, then I should pick up all the stuff at home and, taking and picking up the kids from everything
I'm
and
the
making
president of
dinner
the
and all of
PTA now.
right. Yeah, exactly. But my husband fortunately knew better and he's like, "No, I've got it." And I felt so guilty because I felt like I wasn't being a team player both at the office as well as at home. And here he was navigating his own full-time job and managing being a taxi cab for the kids and making dinner and, all of the things. And then also making sure that the practice was doing okay. So I eventually gave in and
At this point, was
allowed
he
that.
like, did he ever say, I had no idea how much this was now being in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he just sitting in leadership meetings, um, he was able to see just the extent of ongoing stuff that just when you think things are settled and okay, we should be on a smooth path right now, then something else would happen. You try to plan for things, crises to happen, and it's just not possible.
Yeah.
So he definitely got a rude awakening, and it was really validating to hear
Yeah.
him say those things because I had kind of gotten stuck in my mind, going to, some of those meetings with other group practice owners and hearing their stories and how motivated they were to like keep going and keep growing. And it really, in my mind, felt like if I wasn't growing, then I was failing.
Yeah.
And that's just what you do as an entrepreneur. You grow. And if you're not growing, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nobody comes to those meetings and says, I'm good at
I'm
this
just cruising
at this
along.
size, you know, good to go. I don't want to make any more money. I'm or at least in the meetings that I've been at. I never hear anybody say that. So at our first meeting, well, I missed the first one in September, but I came to the second one and we were all going through our numbers and revenue and all of those things. And I had no idea what my numbers were because my husband had been handling it all. I wasn't looking at any of those numbers at all. And it felt really empowering to be different, which is not at all my personality. I don't typically like to stand out, especially not in that way of, everybody is talking about their successes. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I even want to keep doing this. What are we all doing?
I love that. I love that. I just remember that moment and just being like, yes, yes. I wanted to reach out and hug you because I was like, that's what I'm feeling. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was also nice, once I opened up and was honest with everybody, uh, the feedback that I got, people sent even private messages of like, wow, I am so impressed that you were willing to share that with us. And, there were definitely thoughts for me of like just going in and faking it till I made it,
Yeah.
because I don't know. For me, uh, especially in the beginning years, it felt a lot like just fake it till you make it. And, that starts to feel, mm, not very authentic. And so it's just like this tug and pull back and forth for me. And it was exhausting,
What do you
absolutely
think the
exhausting.
biggest thing that was the pain points for you that started to burn you out? Was it industry shifts? Was it people management? Was it just decision fatigue?
I would say mainly decision fatigue, um, but people management, I would absolutely say, has always been the toughest part of group practice ownership for me.
Yeah.
Uh, I like for everybody to be happy, and it very much plays on my people-pleasing tendencies, um, to just say yes, all the things. But then, that doesn't keep the lights on for very long. Um, you know, I've realized that saying yes to everything will eventually catch up with you. The yes to one person that makes them happy will make another person unhappy. And so part of my burnout recovery was realizing that's not my role. My role is to keep the practice healthy and keep the culture at the practice healthy and, to be able to do it in a way that I can be healthy. And if that's not possible, then maybe this is not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. How long had you been running the practice before that point?
It was about 8 years.
And was it not a intentional, it wasn't like you set out to be this group practice owner, it was like, "I'll hire this clinician," and then, "Okay, you wanna come work for me?" And it sort of gradually builds from there, and then all of a sudden you're like, "I've got 20 employees, and what am I doing?" Was it kinda that way, or was it intentional?
Yes. I
Okay.
absolutely never intended to be a group practice ownership. I always felt like that was for other people that were more motivated than me. Uh, but the practice grew really pretty organically, especially in the beginning. And I just ran with it. I mean, at the beginning, I set it up. I think back to how naive I was. Set it up that, I'm not going to be the boss. We're all going to just be on, the same level ground. There's not going to be any hierarchy here. We're all colleagues. And, um,
It's like a
you know,
parent going, "I'm just gonna be your friend." Yeah,
yes,
that always
because,
works.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we'll just kind of figure it out as we go and it'll be fine. You make your own clinical decisions about your caseload, and I'll make mine about my caseload, and surely they'll line up enough. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work.
So when you're resetting nervous system, it sounds like month 1 was just, "Let's get some sleep. Let's just, like, feed the cup that way." What thoughts, feelings are coming up for you? Are you starting to question whether or not you wanna continue to do this? Are you like, "Okay, I just need to delegate more"? When did you said it was after 4 months. It sounds like that's maybe when you started to have some clarity about what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So I started just researching burnout, and there's not a lot out there. And I came across this podcast. Am I allowed to say it?
Yeah, is it Jen Blanchett,
No,
A Therapist Burnout?
no, but
Oh, you gotta
I,
find that one. It's a great
yeah,
one. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, this one is called Fried, the Burnout Podcast.
Ooh, okay.
And it's with Kate Donovan and Sarah Vosen, and they
Ooh, I'll
have
write
a
that
whole
down.
burnout program.
Okay.
They offer this 4-month program where you meet weekly with a small cohort, and each week, Sarah goes through various issues related to burnout, what leads to burnout, and just really pokes holes in our mindsets because we're socialized to
Mm,
believe that our worth is attached to our productivity and, that it's normal and okay for 40 hours of our week at least to be spent working.
and it's
And
not 40 when you're a group practice owner, it's like
no,
60 to 80. Yeah,
right, absolutely.
yeah.
And wanting time to yourself is selfish,
Mm.
especially as a mom. You
You have
should,
kids, it's a
right.
season. This is a season, embrace the season. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And that type of stuff just really makes me want to poke my eyes out. Like,
Mhm.
that's not helpful.
Mm-mm.
Or like, telling a mom, you're going to miss this when their child is
Oh,
screaming in the grocery store. Like, please don't tell. I
now I'm
hope I never
irritated
get to that
and guilty. Yeah.
place. Yeah. Ah, so much guilt.
Mhm.
So I joined this fried group. It's called Unfried,
Hmm.
but the podcast is called Fried.
Is this for therapists specifically or
No,
anybody? Okay.
no, it's for anybody,
Okay.
but it's interesting that most of the people end up being healers in some
Yeah. Helping
form or
profession.
fashion. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that was really pivotal in my recovery to be able to in my group, we were all women. It's open to men too, but for various reasons, it was all women that had signed up. And it was so nice to just get this level of vulnerability with each other and really hear what life has been like for and they were in all different professions too. Like I said, some were in the helping professions. Well, really, actually, no, all of them were now that I'm thinking about it. And, just that need almost to help others and our willingness to set ourselves on fire to keep other people warm.
Mm.
It was just
I
so
love that.
rampant.
Our
It's
willingness to set ourselves on fire to keep others warm. Yeah. That should be a book.
yeah, yeah. I heard that somewhere.
Oof.
I can't
Okay.
take credit for it, but that really resonates with me. I mean, I
Mhm.
still think about when I notice myself starting to say yes too much. And so there were strategies that we learned, like instead of saying yes immediately, say, I'll get back to you. And that was like so crazy to me to not just jump in and say, yes, I'll do it, but
Mhm.
to say, let me look at my schedule and I'll let you know for sure. Um, because I felt like I was letting people down. I wasn't helping enough. And, but if I listened to my body, my body was screaming, I'm exhausted. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
capacity for that. So let's not overcommit because that's what I would do was constantly overcommit and not take into account the capacity needed for each task that I had committed to. And then I'd be mad at myself when I was done with whatever that commitment was
Mhm.
that I needed rest because I felt like, well, I should be able to just keep going.
Mhm.
I'm not 85. Like, what is wrong with me? You
Right.
know, which was just so
Well, and
toxic.
think about you have kids, right?
I do too.
You do? Okay. Like with our kids, if we see we've overscheduled them and they're exhausted, the first thing you do is go, "Hey, we're gonna sit this practice out. Like, just stay home. We're gonna have a rest day. Like, you need it. Rest up. Let's just drink some fluids, like eat some yummy stuff, and like we'll reset tomorrow." You know how to do that for your family, but it's like you need to have that cliche inner child. You need to like
Yes.
think of yourself that same way.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just because you're a mom and a business owner doesn't mean that you stop being a human and having needs. And I very much felt that way and, would surround myself with other people that felt that way too, which just promoted the continuation of that toxic belief system.
When
So,
you came back from that at that 4 months or whenever it was, what insight or did you have that insight where you're like, "I don't I don't wanna do this anymore," or, "I'm gonna do this, but in a different way."
so it took me a while. I thought that I would come back in January and, excuse me, just like hit the ground running. I knew I wouldn't go back to the 50 or 60-hour work weeks. I was done with that, but I just really expected that I would be able to get back to seeing clients and doing most of the things that I had done before. So I was not done with burnout. And I mean, it's only been recently, like in the last probably month or 2, that I felt like I think the burnout has gotten to a much more manageable place. But yeah, coming back in January, it wound up I remember coming back and sitting at my desk and just flashing back to my last day, and my nervous system just
It's like
it
PTSD.
it is. It very
Yeah.
much felt like PTSD, and so I realized, "Okay, this isn't gonna work. I've gotta take a few steps back." Fortunately, my leadership team was amazing and so incredibly supportive. They never once pressured me to, like, "Chop, chop, it's time to come back. We've been holding down the fort for, 4 months here. We're ready to give it back to you." Because I really think that they managed a lot of stuff while I was gone, things that came up that we didn't anticipate coming up. And I think that built their confidence. And that really helped show me that, like, it isn't about me being here and doing all the things that makes the practice successful. Other people are fully capable and able to do the same things that I was doing. It might be different than how I would do things, but the bills are getting paid, we're making payroll, and our profit is still there. So they're doing a lot of things right, and there are more ways to do things than just my way, which was a really hard lesson to
Mm.
learn because I thought, well, I'm in the mastermind groups and doing all the research and on the Facebook, group practice owner groups and on all the things and taking the trainings and reading the books. And so therefore somehow I have the wisdom, even though I didn't, to be able to do things the most efficient way. And that just was not true.
When
So
you were in these groups or anything that you're reading, I know like there's a million, you know, Rockefeller habits, Peter Drucker, they all say the greatest CEOs are the ones who can recognize the people that are better than them in all the other areas, and they hire really well. And that also seemed to be the theme with the group practice owners in our group that were doing really well is they had found people that were great operators, great integrators, great with finance. Like they weren't necessarily doing all the things. So were you truly able to see that as also successful being able to delegate, or did it still feel like a failure to you that you're handing something off?
for the most part, I felt comfortable with handing things off to them by that point. I mean, there are still some times where I'm like, should should I be the one doing that? Because I'm the practice owner, so shouldn't I be the one, that is doing the crappiest of the crappy stuff?
I need to run payroll, guys. It's time for
Right.
payroll. I need to run payroll.
Right.
A
Exactly.
$23 an hour job. I need to be doing that.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And that's been a huge lesson too for me is recognizing the value of my time and that I do have other people on the team that it makes more sense because of their role and, their pay rate. If I can see a client and bring in more money for the practice versus doing payroll or, you know, cleaning the waiting
Putting
room,
putting a
like,
desk together.
right. Yeah. Yes. That it would make sense for me to see the client and hire somebody that, comes to clean our offices every week or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's so many learning lessons attached to group practice ownership. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
It's
just
interesting because you and I both were at a place of severe burnout. I wasn't yet contemplating ending my life. And people would, I mean, every therapist that I went to and all the treatment centers I went to were asking me that. And I would say, no, 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 I'm not going to end my life, but I just don't want to be here.
Mhm.
which they're like, okay, well, that's the first step right before you start making a plan.
Right.
But it's interesting because our paths seem to be different. Yours was this inability to delegate and seeing that as a failure if you offloaded something. I had no problem with that. The issue for me was I abdicated really instead of delegated. I was just like, you got it without evaluating, does that person want it and do they have the capacity to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
When
It's
you
tricky.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I don't think that there's any like one straightforward path to burnout, but I do know that if you're a group practice owner in this day and age and you're trying to manage clinicians who are now being offered way more than you can afford to pay them by the insurers who are now providers in our competition, it's impossible. Retention is hard, turnover is hard, building culture, connecting with each person so they feel a sense of loyalty in this remote landscape. I mean, there's so many different pain points that we navigate that we weren't necessarily navigating 5 years ago.
Absolutely. We just found out this year, well, it was announced in March, so just a few months after I came back, that our largest payer, our highest payer insurance company is closing at the end of the year. And they were the only insurance company that gave us raises every year and paid us well appropriately. And so, they had been around for 45,
They're
50
not merging
years.
with somebody else, they're just shutting the doors.
They're
Wow.
just shutting the doors.
Uh,
Yeah. So that really uh, made us have to make some really unpopular decisions as far as benefits go. Um, I want to be able to take care of my staff and really have a beefed up burnout prevention plan, especially since I had gone through it myself. And before I went through it myself, I had heard about burnout, but I didn't truly understand what it was until I went through it myself. And it was like, it didn't matter what my willpower was or motivation or anything. My body would not do what it needed to do. Like my brain could not make the decisions anymore. It could not handle everyday small stressors any longer. I mean, everything felt like a 10 out of 10
mhm.
issue that needed to be handled yesterday. And I was failing because I hadn't anticipated it, hadn't, you know, couldn't have figured out how to manage it immediately.
And it's like it starts to pile up all the needs so much that it's hard to even get started. It's like you keep on throwing something in an attic and then you're just like, I'll get to it later. And then you open it and you're like, oh, I can't even because that one thing means all the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, when your brain is in burnout mode, it loses the ability to prioritize what is important and what can wait. And that's a really scary feeling to not be able to differentiate what needs to be handled immediately versus what can wait. Because if it all feels like it's got to come now, then you freeze,
Right.
which is what I was doing by sleeping as
And you
much
were
as possible.
fighting for so long. It sounds like you were in fight or flight. You were fighting and then
Right.
you froze and then
Right.
flight, right? You were like, okay, I'm checking out. I'm just going to go to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I talk about this in another episode, but I went to drinking. I would use alcohol to check out
Yeah,
and it worked. I mean, I ran a
it does.
practice for
It's
10
effective.
years, bootstrapped it to 7 figures. It worked. I would just, towards the end, it was like 4 p.m., then 3 p.m., then 2 p.m., and that would be how I would check out. And then couldn't do it anymore. I think mostly because my body just was like, we're good with the alcohol. But you
Yeah.
just, once my body and my mind were clean, then I was in the place where you were, where I was actually feeling the feelings. And I was like, oh, what is that? I don't like this. And I'm trapped. I can't escape anywhere. And I wasn't a sleeper. So I was just here in this cage I had
Yeah.
created.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feeling of being trapped is just awful. I
Yeah.
wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah. Well, so you said that you you started to shift how you defined success. And I think that that can be a platitude for many. Where like we just shift and like I feel better and it's like self-care and I fill my cup. And we just like say all the things and then everybody feels shitty afterwards and I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to do that. All right, I'll do that later. But did you really and how did you do that?
Yes, I do not ever want to go back to that feeling that I had in August of 2024. So I have set up my schedule to allow me to work from home um, for part of the time, and I go into the office for part of the time as well. And that varies. It's not a set schedule because it's based on where I'm at capacity wise. I am much more aware of the fact that I do not feel energized being around a large group of people. I feel exhausted after that, and that used to be something that I was really embarrassed about, but now I just try to embrace it, and so it doesn't mean I don't wanna be around people ever. It just means, okay, if I'm gonna be at the office, let's say, all day long, then I know that it would not be a good idea to have plans in the evening,
Mm.
that it just needs to be a low key, put on pajamas when I get home and, um, relax.
Are you an
Um,
introvert?
yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely an
So
introvert.
So you recognized your battery runs out quickly. If you're around a
Does.
lot of people, you've got to go back and recharge your batteries, whereas an extrovert will recharge around people.
Right.
Okay. Got
Yes,
it.
absolutely. So I will have days where my motivation is there, and so I just kind of ride that wave. As long as my motivation is there, then I'll keep working, but as soon as I feel it start to go away, then I close up shop. That's it.
Mm,
I go home for the whether it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or, it's 7 p.m. at night, once it's gone, or maybe not necessarily completely gone, but I can feel it starting to go away.
hmm.
I try to listen to that and then I'm done.
Okay.
The motivation did not start coming back for me until the middle of September. I mean, I was
So
so
1 year,
worried.
over
Yeah.
1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. I was so worried that it was never going to come back and I was always going to be this like, I just felt like a bump on a log. Like, there wasn't really anything that I was super excited about or super interested in doing related to work, especially. And really felt like it excited me. But then, and I still have no idea if it was just like it had been over a year. And so my nervous system had truly reset. But because it came back so slowly, I am so very careful with it. I mean, I feel like I treat my motivation very much with kid gloves
Hmm.
because I want it to stay. And so I start every day off working out. That always helps. And even if it's 15 minutes, just something to move my body
Hmm.
because I used to get in this frame of mind of, well, if I don't have an hour, then it's not worth it to do it at all.
Hmm.
Um, but now I really pay close attention to I really need even just 15 minutes. And it's got to be done first thing in the morning. If I wait till the evening, it's not going to be done.
Yeah.
And, then I eat breakfast and get ready for the day. And that's extremely helpful for me to be able to have motivation and feel like I'm ready to face the world. And then I will start working on, a project or responding to emails or things like that. And if it is bringing me excitement and happiness, then I'll try to stay plugged into it as long as I can. But like I said, as soon as it starts to go away, I put it down
Mhm.
because I really believe that if I go back to just pushing through like I used to do all the time and
Mhm.
ignoring what my body is telling me of, we're okay to work on this for a couple of hours, but we're not okay to work on this for 10 hours.
Mhm.
I get more done, quality work done in that shorter period of time than I did before, where I'd go down rabbit holes and have 75 tabs open and like just get lost in whatever, and then not get as much accomplished.
Mhm.
So it it feels like it would be the opposite. Like, well, if you're
Mhm.
not spending 8 hours of work a day, then you can't be as efficient as you were or effective or, get as much done. But that's not been true for me at this point.
Pause. This part matters. One of the biggest injuries in clinician life isn't the workload, it's the isolation. There's a mountain of research showing that social support and a sense of belonging aren't nice extras, they're protective factors. People with stronger perceived support have better mental health, lower stress, and more resilience across the board. We don't heal in private caves, we heal in community. And here's another layer. Helping other people actually improves your well-being. Pro-social behavior, even small acts like sharing something that helps a friend, is linked to higher life satisfaction and lower distress. It's literally how humans regulate. So here's my ask. It's not just for metrics. If you're doing okay right now, but you know a colleague who's quietly drowning, send them this episode. Text it, DM it, tag them. Because word of mouth and social norms are how ideas spread in real life. It's how we stop thinking we're alone. You might be fine, but your share might be the moment someone else comes up for air. I think about that book that I forget what her name is. She's the Ariana Huffington. That's who it is. She wrote a book about people multitasking, and basically, I think she learned from her mom that she abhorred multitasking and really believed that you actually are more productive when you have one single focus on that singular thing that's in front of you. Was it something like that? Were there books? Was it the unfried group? What was it for you that helped you change how you saw productivity?
It, for me, the beginning, really knocking down a lot of old beliefs, was my unfried group. I mean, it really made a huge impact and helped me to recognize, "Oh, well, if I'm not well resourced, then I can't expect myself to be 100% on and like ready to take on the day.
Mhm.
I have to It can't be I'm filling my cup as it's emptying, or I wait until my cup is empty and then I fill it. It's gotta be, I need to focus on getting my cup filled first and then anticipating how much capacity tasks are going to take and building in breaks so that I don't, wipe out everything in one day because I have a to-do list a mile long. So I
Right.
should, the shoulds just really um, get me. And so
So
trying
it
to
was
navigate
coming
that.
from you. You were able, knew that. You had the information within you. It was probably stuff that you would give to your clients, and you just knew that your behaviors were not aligning with what truly needed to make you productive.
Right.
Got it.
Absolutely. And I just felt like, well, I could be more productive. And there wasn't an end. It was just like, okay, well, I felt productive, but how can I be more productive? What can I do? How about, I just not sleep and just see how that goes. Like, it just was my mindset was just so extreme.
Yeah.
And walking back from that has been a huge challenge. Um, and I have to be careful about how much time I spend with people that maybe still have that mindset.
Mhm.
Um, because now for my mind to go back into, well, the practice was bigger when you were doing all of those things. So don't you want to be successful? Don't you want to, you know, increase profit for the practice? And at this point, I'm trying really hard to just accept my own limits. And I don't want to be a practice that has 25 therapists. That's
Mhm.
not for me. If it's for you, that's great. More power to you. But for me, smaller is more manageable and it aligns more with what I can manage.
It sounds like you had also built something that was making money while you slept, right? Like you had profit. It wasn't like you were going under because you weren't there. Everything was fine. You built a profitable business. And I want to know truly, does that land with you today? Like, are you able to go, I built this lifestyle business that is making money for me, and if I delegate and outsource right, I don't have to be involved in every single thing. Like, that's what 95% of people can't do after the first year.
Right. Yeah. I work on it still,
Okay.
um, of
That's
recognizing that.
honest, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to make that shift, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, part of why I am excited to get into doing intensives is because I miss the client side of things. The group practice ownership, looking at the numbers constantly and the HR side of things
You're not a clinician
is,
anymore. You're just
yeah,
like a numbers person. Yeah. You're a
right,
CEO. Yeah.
right. And that's not necessarily my passion. My passion really is with clients. And I thought that my ultimate goal was working my way out of seeing clients and only working on the business rather than working in the business, right? And that didn't end up being true for me because once I got there, it wasn't like something magically shifted and I was like, oh, I've made it now and I can relax. No, it just felt like, well, I've got to keep growing. I've got to figure out how we can bridge, or work our way into expanding our profitability and what else can we bring on so that, we can offer more things, more services to the community instead of just focusing on, well, I know therapy and I think I'm a pretty good therapist. So I'm going to focus on that and the folks that are in my group with me, it feels so much more collegial and the culture is so supportive and warm and inviting and real. It doesn't feel, I felt like, especially when we got to the two locations, I felt like we switched into like away from small private practice and we were headed down a path of this is a big business, even though it wasn't, in technical
But yeah,
terms.
for
But
one
to me,
person to be running,
yeah,
of course. I mean, as you start to get into that 25 to 40 employee set, it drastically changes in terms of what you need. And most of us can't afford the infrastructure that you need. And that's where we break.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very true.
So when you're now in this place a year later, which I'm glad you said, because I think most of us, we're all overachievers. We all went to college, then grad school, we got our master's or doctorate, we're just used to getting the next thing instead of seeing being able to be here as successful and
Right.
just being in the moment. I mean, my God, if you think of the statistic that in the first 5 years, most small businesses don't make it. 95% of businesses don't make it. So you successfully built one, kept it running, are still turning a profit, which is really, really hard in the mental health industry for a private owner, and have managed to outsource some of that. I think all of that has got to be helpful for our listeners who are maybe in that same process and they're like, okay, I should be ready. Like, I've taken a month off. It's time for me to get back to things and I'm refreshed and I need to look good for everybody. To hear that even a year out for you, it's a daily process to make that shift of like, oh yeah, I did build this thing and I am successful. That's enough.
Right. Yeah. Enough.
Yeah,
That
enough.
is huge.
There's so I started to do EMDR myself because of all the trauma of what I was going through when I was almost losing my house. And my therapist started to notice the theme around why I was shoulding all over myself. I was always like, I should do that. I should do that. And she said, have you ever heard of seven primal questions, the seven primal questions? I was like, no. She said, I think you can just go on their website and just take the quiz. But I'm curious to see what your primal question is because the theory, I guess, is like, I think it's Mike Foster, he's a psychologist. It's like all of us have a unique drive. For some, it's the need to be safe. For some, it's the need to be loved. For some, it's the need to be successful. And for me, it was purpose. I was having a real, and I think it's also like a 45-year-old problem too, which is like this existential crisis of am I in the right place? Have I done enough? Am I successful? Will I be more successful? Do I need to be more successful? Why do I need to be successful? What is success? What's the point of my life? Like, if I die tomorrow, will anybody know I existed? How I feel a constant race. Every morning, my brain goes, you better get out there, get your thumbprint on the world. Like, you're not going to be here for that long, and people need to know you were here. And I was saying to my husband, yeah, of course, that's like what it's like anthropology 101. We all have a need to like show we were here. And he's like, I don't need people to know I was here. So that for me was the drive always, is like, I want my life to have a purpose, a point to why I existed. And if I can start there, then I can realign what I'm doing in my daily life to match up. I can still have purpose, but it doesn't mean I have to be a group practice owner burning the candle at both ends, trying to compete with the juggernaut that is Optum, So
Yeah.
for you, when you think about and I know this is a big question, you may not know the answer to that right now, but what do you think is your primary drive that keeps you going?
Now I feel like my primary drive is to be safe, to feel safe. Um, Peace has become my number one priority. And so when I'm making decisions, I really try to look at them through the lens of, will this contribute to peace? And it
Mm.
doesn't mean that, like, you know, that means I'm just going to sit and meditate 8 hours a day and expect that I'll magically get money. It still means that I'm working, and it still means that I'm contributing to my practice and to my family and all of those things. But it helps me cut out the fat, the
Wow.
fluff, so
Yeah.
that, okay, is this going to bring me peace? It might be hard work initially, but hard work can equal peace. It doesn't have to be, because I really got stuck in this mindset of, well, peace equals laziness, being unproductive, relaxing. Relaxing was bad, because if you're not making something that is contributing to the world, then why are you even here?
What are you even doing? Yeah.
Right. Right. I come from parents who are both entrepreneurs.
Okay. I also wanted to know that question.
It's
I was like, whoa, what did she come from? It was either a
yeah.
Catholic Protestant type upbringing or two
Uh-huh.
entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I went to Catholic school from first through
Okay.
eighth grade. Yep,
Perfect. There you
absolutely.
go. That's a great setup.
Yep, got it from all angles. But it just feels so good to dismantle that stuff and
Yeah.
to be able to just look at it in a different light.
Love that.
Yeah, this is gonna bring me peace. And if it's
When
not,
you
then I'm
when you
not gonna
think
do it.
about leading your practice, so as a leader, and you're still the leader, I'm assuming, right? Okay.
Yes.
So when you think about the patterns that you're engaging in prior to burnout and the patterns now, what does the new leadership look like for you?
So a good example right now of the difference is I used to have a job ad out, like, all the time because you just never know when.
Someone's going to quit.
Right.
Get that
And
resignation letter. Super
right,
fun.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I would feel a lot of pressure when somebody would move on to fill that spot. And I would look, just inside of our building, and there's 14 offices. If somebody isn't in all 14 offices, then that would equal failure in my mind. But now, with the huge shift that we've had to do with losing that health insurance company, and the change in benefits, it may cause people, and has caused some people already, to question, whether it still works for them to stay at the practice. And I'm in no hurry to fill those spots. I've gotten to the point where the people that I want to work at Champagne Counseling are people that align with our values, like, for real, not just saying you do. And I want to see proof that that is true, that you're not just saying that in an interview, and that you're okay working in a smaller environment that allows for vulnerability and connection in a different way than if you were to work, you know, at a larger agency.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to really invest in smaller is better.
Yeah.
It's more manageable. And when I walk into the building, instead of feeling amped up and like I've got to take on the world, I truly feel calm and content. And for me, that's my goal.
Sometimes we confuse leadership with management. So I know for myself, I was managing people, and it usually was always a fire. This person's going to quit. They're not happy with their percentage. They aren't getting enough clients, that sort of thing. Right. So then I would meet with that person and they would say, I'm going to get offered more over here. I really don't want to leave you guys, but like, this is kind of what I'm dealing with. And I would say, okay, all right, I'm going to put a plan together and we'll figure it out next week. We'll meet. Okay. So then it's on me to then figure out how to get them more clients. And sometimes it was just, shoot, these people need caps. Like we had texts that there were no billing caps. And it's a recipe to go under really quick if they're billing you more than what you can bill the insurance company for the testing. So it was a lot of management and very little very little leadership on my part. And for you, now, I'm a bit of an ambivert, right? So I certainly need some downtime to recharge my batteries. So what does that look like now? How do you still build culture where people feel connected? How do you lead them? How do you make them feel inspired and, kind of align with your mission in a different way that still helps contribute to peace for you?
That's a really good question. I feel like I'm still figuring that out on a daily basis.
I love that. I love that you're so honest, that you're just like, I don't know, still work in progress.
Yeah,
I love
it
that.
really is. And there are some days that I feel like, all right, that was a good day. And I felt more like a leader than a manager. Part of what one of the big shifts that we're doing is, instead of paying folks by only their hours worked with no session minimum. We're shifting to there's a session minimum, and the look back period is a year. And so it really puts the responsibility on the therapist to manage their schedule and make sure that they're getting that session minimum each week rather than me or one of the folks on our leadership team sitting down with them on a regular basis and
Mm,
really managing them, because the consequence is going to be then you won't be full-time status any longer. You'll be part-time status next year. So it's not, I'm wanting to shift away from, that micromanagement, looking at your numbers constantly while also making sure that the practice stays in business.
yeah.
That contributes to peace. I mean, we're new at this, so hopefully it will continue contributing to peace
Yeah.
and more leadership, less managing.
Are your clinicians on salary or are they on just a split per session?
They are hourly. So we don't
Okay.
do a percentage split, just a flat hourly rate.
Okay. Got it.
Um, yeah.
That's great though, because I don't know how people have any clinicians that are on salary because it puts the owner back in that mode of having to babysit essentially of like, did you make your numbers this week? Oh, she took off 3 sessions. It's like, I don't want to deal with that. Let them, they'll fill up their pocketbooks if they see less clients. And then that will either motivate them to see more or not. So I
Yes.
never understand when, and no judgment, I just never understand how a practice can be sustainable if a clinician's on salary.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We also do employee get-togethers that are optional where we will go bowling together, or we've done one of those, I'm blanking on the name, where you go in and save the
Escape room.
world. Yes, escape room. Thank
Yeah.
you. That was a lot of fun. And it was a different way of getting to know each other. Like, when you're kind of under
Like
pressure and
who's the thinker, who's the solver, who's the freezer that's like, I'm trapped in a
yeah,
room. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we
So
try to do those things on a quarterly
that's
basis.
I love that. So you all are see, I was running a practice and everybody was in Boston. I was in California, so it's hard to get in person. But it sounds like
Yeah.
are you in Illinois?
Mhm. Yep,
Illinois. Okay. So it sounds like you guys are in person or maybe
we are.
hybrid, but you're able to see each other regularly. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that helps tremendously. We have staff meetings every month where we all come in person, and then also clinical consultation monthly, where we all come together in person as well.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So you talked about listening to your body, and you've said that you used to skip meals, bathroom breaks, just to, I mean, just, basic biological needs when you
Right.
were going through burnout. So,
Yeah.
what does listening to your body look like now?
So I do not eat at my desk, even if it means, so I have a table in my office, even if it means I just move, 50 feet over to the table. I don't have my laptop open when I'm working. Truly even just 10 minutes, just enough time to eat. I start my day, um, like I said earlier, with some type of movement, and that helps considerably. I find that if I start the day that way, it makes it easier for my brain to look for ways of taking breaks. I try to go for walks during the day, even if it's just like I'm going to walk the dogs just down the street and back. And
Do you
it's
have an
a 5 or
alarm?
10 minute walk.
Do you have an alarm that's like, okay, get up?
So I don't, because the alarm was irritating me.
Okay.
I was just like, "Eh," and I
It was not a
real
peace
easily
contributor.
it was
No.
not, and I could real easily just turn it off and ignore it. So, I try to just, you know, pay attention to myself when I'm noticing that, like, I'm getting a little bit wiggly in my seat, and I'll get up and go talk to somebody that has their door open or check in, just to say hi. Or, I've also started reading books, like real books, not,
Like in your
you know,
hand, the
in my
paper and
hands from the
oh,
library books,
yeah.
which just it feels so wonderful
Mhm.
because I used to just do Audible only, and it would be, the 10 or 15-minute commute to work and home, which was fine. It was better than nothing, but there's something about I just feel so less rushed when I'm sitting down with a paper book in my hand. It feels like a step away. I don't know.
It
It's
feels like you're
weird.
living life, I think.
Yeah.
If you curl up, like you have a nice cup of tea and you're in a blanket and you're reading a book, you're like, I'm just living life right now.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yes. Absolutely.
I love that.
It's little things like you mentioned tea. I started drinking tea.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, I feel like when I have my teacup, then, like, I'm really adulting, and it feels like a break because I don't drink coffee. I've, you
Yeah.
know, wanted to drink coffee, but I just don't like it. But it just looks so cozy and
Yeah.
comfy, and so I just have
Nothing like
replaced it
just
with
having
tea.
something warm on your
Yeah,
chest as you're, like, reading a book. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and then there's, like, I think the name of the store is Teavana, where you can get into, like you can really get into a tea ritual. You can, like,
Yes,
you can get the loose leaves and, like, the whole steaming thing, and it's just like a meditative practice.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you read books, which I love. I love that you have some actual tangible things that you do. You're exercising, you try to do some movement in the morning, and you don't eat at your laptop, which is, I think, a huge step that we can all kind of take a page from. Anything else that has helped you get back into your body?
Trying to think. I'm sure I'll remember a whole bunch after we're done meeting. I subscribe to both Calm and Insight Timer.
Love that. Yeah, I
Those
love Insight Timer. Yeah.
Yes, me too. It's what I really love about Insight Timer is that they have so many meditations based off of how you're feeling just in that moment. So if I'm feeling really amped up, um, especially in the morning, like if my anxiety is going to hit, it's usually as soon as my eyes open, then I will try to carve out, even if it's just 5 minutes, 5 minutes to sit with Insight Timer, um, to see if I can just shift that anxiety a little bit because it's
Mhm.
often, based on what ifs and catastrophizing. Um, but that interruption of 5 minutes of a meditation, um, is really helpful. And
Yeah.
I used to do these things or subscribe to these things, but then not actually do them because
Uh-huh.
I felt like, well, I'll just get to it later. I'll have time another time. But now, knowing how bad it can actually get when I shove self-care to the side, it really helps me to push through and do the self-care rather than pushing through and doing work or whatever thing that I don't want to do.
And as you say self-care, I always think, like, we just say it so much as
Mhm.
therapists. We say it all day long to clients, like,
Yeah,
self-care, what are you doing for self-care? And then we don't really do that ourselves. And I think we've said it so much, it's almost become pejorative. Like, it's like selfish. It sounds like selfish. And if we think about your trajectory, your lack of self-care, whatever you want to call it, led to you contemplating the end of your life, right?
right,
That's how serious
right,
that is. That's how much of a necessity that is for every human.
right,
So maybe we come up with a new term for it, right? Maybe we don't call it self-care anymore for a while and give that a break. But there is something essential that you were neglecting. I mean, you were neglecting bio breaks. So you were on a
right. It was
different level.
ridiculous.
You were Howard Hughes with like
Right. Yes. Oh my God.
You're like, we've passed the point of real, like
Right.
normal stuff. And now we're like, okay, this is crazy town. So I think that it's incredible that you were so laser focused on everything you needed to do that day that you were just truly, like literally
Yeah.
neglecting basic
Yeah.
human needs for yourself. So I know that you specialize in Gottman and EMDR work. How has your own healing influenced the way you help clients heal now?
So I'm not in such a rush anymore. Another reason why I have developed our version of the intensives for couples is because I'm wanting to shift away from the pressure and not super helpful insurance requirements that then put that pressure onto the therapist, and I think also onto the client too, of, well, it's been 6 sessions and they're still struggling with being able to get out of bed in the morning. Well,
This couple was not having sex. Now they're having sex 1.5 times a week.
right. Yeah,
Okay, you're approved for another 3 sessions.
right.
Like, how do you, like,
Yeah,
measure progress in
right.
couples therapy? Yeah.
I know, I know. And, being able to not have the interruption of ending after an hour, because I find, at least with couples therapy, you're just starting to unpack
Mhm,
really important stuff at that 45-minute to 1 hour,
mhm.
slot. And
People start getting real, or you start
right,
to see the bad habits and that yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're warmed up and they are ready to really start talking and
Mhm.
do the work. And I've got to tell them, "Oh, sorry, see you next week.
Oh,
It's your
yeah.
hour's up."
Right, right.
So I'm looking forward to being able to take breaks based off of their nervous systems and what their needs are, and having a chunk of time to be able to dive into the nitty-gritty, the meat of the issues that they're dealing with, and then having time also to do the interventions and really do them, not feel rushed of like, okay, we only have 20 minutes to get through this intervention, so we've got to hurry it up. So, don't get too vulnerable or too emotional because I've got to figure out how to wrap things up at the 1 hour mark.
As you're talking about this, I'm thinking about all the business aspects of doing an intensive, right? So now I've got to market it. I got to let people know I'm doing it. I got to look at maybe Facebook ads and A B test them on Google. And I have to write the protocol and the treatment plan. And I've got to forecast the numbers and make sure that these intensives, how many do I need a year for this to be profitable? So, how do you approach that now with burnout in your mind of like, I don't want to go back to where I was?
Yeah. So I am starting off slow. Like, my goal is to just do one a month and see how that goes. But then that means I've got to price them in
Hmm.
a way that actually takes into account what I should be taking into account anyway, with my experience and training. And, most of the time couples need a weekend in order to do an intensive, because getting off of work, for that long is challenging for both partners. And, I want that to be a space where I can relax knowing that I'm being paid a living wage to be able to offer those services. And I'm also trying to go into it with some flexibility as far as, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
It's okay. We can pivot. We are doing well enough that we have some space to be able to start off slow and build our way up. And I've done my research and gotten the support that I felt like I needed in order to be ready to go. So I'm really looking forward to it and seeing the shifts that can happen.
How do you let people know that you do that? Is it just organically through your practice? Like you're letting your clinicians know, like, hey, if you have any couples, I'm running this. Do you run Facebook ads? Like, how do people know how to find your courses and your intensives?
So we are starting them actually at the beginning of next year, so
Okay.
January.
Okay.
I've done a workshop before, which was for multiple couples. And the way we marketed that was mostly through word of mouth, but then also Facebook ads as well.
Mm. Okay.
And we were able to fill it up with, I believe, like 7 or 8 couples, if I remember correctly, which, and those things, at least in my opinion, you want them to be small and intimate so that it doesn't feel, overwhelming to the folks that are there. And for me as the presenter, I do better with smaller groups too. So
Mhm.
it's little things like that, just listening to it's not me to do, like 100 couples. That sounds like my nightmare.
But yeah, no.
I would much rather
Yeah.
do smaller, 6, 7, 8 couples at most, so I feel connected and like I know them enough
Mhm.
to really be able to help them. So, yeah.
Love that. Okay, so any other off the chair side hustles you have going on as an entrepreneur right now? Courses you're building, books you're writing, Etsy empires. What other things do you have cooking?
So my main focus has really, especially this last quarter, has just been prepping for the EMDR intensives and
Mhm.
the couples therapy intensives.
Mhm.
One of the other therapists in the practice is going to start out doing the EMDR intensives, and then I'm going to join her once I get a couples therapy intensive or two under my belt. And so that really it's amazing the planning that goes into,
Oh my
I mean,
god.
even just like setting up separate informed consents and
Yeah.
figuring out, choosing how many hours you're going to do. What is
And how
the
you're going to
framework
break
for
up
an
the
intensive?
whole thing,
Right.
process versus didactic. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to just focus on
I
less,
love that. Look at
doing
you.
one or two things at a time. And because my brain very much, shiny object syndrome
Yes.
is definitely there. So I'm interested in all kinds of different things, but
And you're
I'm
just
really
like,
trying
no,
hard.
you're able to
Yep.
kind of keep the blinders on. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
never want to feel that way again.
One day. Okay. So as we wrap up today, what is one piece of advice that you would give other clinicians who are listening who maybe are like, oh my God, I'm right where she is. I don't even know the first step. I don't think I can take a month off of practice. Like, what would be your advice to them?
So my advice would be to start listening to podcasts. I love podcasts. So,
Me too.
um, that, are supportive of that, like listening to this podcast. I wish that you guys had started this, a year and a half ago. It would have been super
We were
helpful.
just in our own
It's
little
been
burnout cycle.
right, right.
Right.
Yes, that's true. That's true. You weren't in the space yet. But, listening to your podcast has been helpful more recently, since September.
Yeah.
And then the Unfried podcast, they have tons of episodes. So what I did was I just started with whatever one resonated with me the most. And that really created a space of just validation. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would say really looking at your to-do list and looking at what are the have tos versus the want tos. And when I did that, I realized my have to list was like 3 times my want to list. And so I've worked in this last year and a half to really, flip flop that so that my have to list is shorter and my want to list is longer. Because I
Yeah.
know that when that happens, it grows my capacity to be able to manage other things. Um, So taking a break doesn't have to mean, stepping away completely like I did. I mean, I think I was really lucky, and, privileged to be able to take a complete break, and I recognize that, not everybody has that ability. So starting off small is better than nothing. So pulling back, maybe you're offering 3 different things at your practice, and one is really a time suck, an energy suck for you. Well, then maybe next year, um, that needs to be paused so that you can put your energy into something else. Making sure that you eat when you're hungry, and if you're not hungry, then maybe you need to set alarms to have some snacks. And just paying attention to your body, I think I know it sounds cliche, but our body is really great at communicating with us.
Yeah.
We just struggle sometimes when we've, you know, ignored what our body is telling us for so long, it kind of gives up. So listening to when you feel the urge of like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to explode. Okay, that's a good time to
Hmm.
walk, up and down the hall for a little while or step outside, even just to take some deep breaths. Or to me, looking up at the sky, especially on a clear blue day, helps give me some perspective
Yeah.
of like, okay, I am still little in this world.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
so many bigger things. And
We're all just
what
ants
I'm working
marching.
on, right, right, exactly.
Well, and as you're talking, I mean, there's so much science behind what you're saying, right? Like Andrew Huberman talks about his routine is he does go outside every day and he aligns his eyes with the sun because it sets your circadian rhythm up. So you start to have natural sleep rhythms.
Yeah.
The lady who created EMDR, her name's failing me right now.
Shapiro, Francine
Shapiro
Shapiro. Yep.
discovered it just on a walk, right? She's walking, she's thinking about trauma, her head's going back to, her eyes are going back and forth, and she's like, somehow I feel better after I do these walks. And then the body keeps the score. That book famously shows how we do encode trauma in the body. And I just like, I mean, if you've ever taken a yoga class, like a restorative yoga class, and do a camel pose, I've had intense emotions come up when you're opening up these parts of the body that we shut down for so long.
Yeah.
And now psychiatrists are starting to see that, wait a minute, it's not serotonin that's directly involved in depression. It's actually our gut. There's so
Right.
much in our body that is wrapped in how we feel. And I think your instinct and intuition and expertise is spot on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been amazing, the difference. I mean, just small things. It doesn't have to be, a huge overhaul.
Yeah.
Just pick one thing.
Yeah.
And that's been a big helper too. Just pick one thing and focus on that. Don't make a list of
Yeah.
my self-care tasks. That
Totally.
that's
One of these days, I'm going to post on the blog the treatment plan I made for myself, and people are going to be like, I see why she went insane. Like that. I'm crazy.
yes.
So, this is my more nerdy, selfish question, but I always ask people, what are your favorite AI tech tools that are giving you your time back right now?
So ChatGPT is my best friend.
Yes.
So I use it a lot for organizing email responses.
Hmm.
So I am a little bit wordy a person. And so I can go all over the place. And I think I can, you know, get people lost in what I'm actually trying to say. And so ChatGPT has been implemental in helping me to get to the point,
Headline
narrow things
first and
down.
then break it
Yep,
down. Yeah.
exactly. It also helped us quite a bit with our rewriting of our employee manual of, again, just wording things so that they're concise. Nobody needs to know the 7-year history of why we have this policy, but for whatever reason, I thought that they did. So ChatGPT helped me
You're like,
narrow it
one
down.
day Wendy came in and she said she wanted time off and she could not have time off. So this is our policy.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it has been instrumental in decreasing just a lot of the busy work for me.
Amazing. Yeah, there's a tool called Fixer AI, Fyxer, and I'm trying it. I don't know if I like it, but I think it does use ChatGPT. And essentially, like you hook in all your emails, like you would like if
Yeah.
you hooked in your bank accounts or whatever. And then it starts to see how you respond to people and it learns. So then it starts to auto draft. So it won't send, but it'll start to auto draft based on, they're like, this is the group practice owner. This is how she typically responds. She delegates to this person for this thing. So it does start to help you. I just have not felt great, like being like, yeah, send it. It just still looks too AI-y for me to
Yeah.
send off.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's super helpful, but I mean, ChatGPT is like, it's changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Well, Sarah, am so nice. It feels like I feel good in my body right now. I just feel warm
Good.
and cozy talking to you.
I'm so glad.
Your energy, your vibe is just so relaxed. I don't know if that's how you were prior to this burnout or if this is how you are now, but I my mirror neurons are really connecting with where you're at. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy to see
Thank you.
you in a better place because
Thank you.
you sounded the alarm bells for me even. And I am so happy to see you on the other side of that. And I just appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability. You're not coming in, you're like, okay, so here's the answers. And my 7-step
Right.
course is available now online through Spotify. Like you're like, I don't know. I'm just like trying to do this thing and like we'll see if it works out. And I just love that because that's what it's gonna look like for most people. They're gonna just stumble into whatever the next thing is. And it starts with these small habits and small steps. Yeah.
So very true.
Okay, so Sarah is launching couples therapy and EMDR intensives in early 2026. If you want to experience deeper, faster healing or you're curious about the intensive model, visit champagnecounseling.com or follow her on Instagram at Champ Counseling. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. And anything else, anywhere else where they can find you or any last things you want to add?
Oh, I'm so glad that I was able to be on, and I really hope that there are at least a handful of folks that can use some of the things that we talked about today to help bring them some peace in their life too.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think what you said today will help so many people stop sacrificing their lives for their careers. Maybe just get off their desk and their laptop when they eat lunch today
Right. Yes.
and, start building something that is more aligned, sustainable, grounded in actual well being. So
Yeah.
if you love this conversation, share it with a therapist who needs it or a clinician who needs it. They don't have to be a therapist, they could be a physical therapist, an MD, a chiropractor, a dentist. Share it with anybody that is trading each hour for money. Hit follow and tune in next week. We keep breaking the rules of traditional mental health care, one episode at a time. Okay? Okay. Let's be honest. Everyone gets slammed with the hit like and subscribe thing, and we scroll past because it's become meaningless noise. But here's the psychology of why following, subscribing, and hitting that bell will help you more than it helps me. You already have the big ideas. You have the Sunday night vision, the I'm changing everything plan, and then Monday hits and the week swallows you back into survival mode. That's not a character flaw, it's how human behavior works. Research in habit science shows that most of what we do every day is driven by cues in our environment, not by our best intentions. If the cue doesn't show up, the behavior doesn't happen. And the FOG behavior model makes it painfully simple. For any behavior to happen, you need motivation, ability, and a prompt at the same moment. Prompts are the missing piece for people who already care and already know what to do. So when you hit follow and turn on those notifications, you're not just doing me a favor, you're installing a weekly prompt, an automation that interrupts that weekly grind long enough to remind you the new future you are getting ready to build. Think of this show as your cue to come up for air. Hit follow, tap the bell, let the reminder work for you. Because change isn't built on intention alone. It requires systems. So here's your 1-minute action step. If you're on YouTube, look right under this video and hit subscribe, then tap that little bell next to it so you get a reminder when a new episode drops. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, hit follow. It's usually at the top of the show page, and turn on notifications if it asks. If you're on Instagram, go to @OffTheChairPodcast, hit follow, and tap the bell in the top right to get weekly alerts. And if you want the community, search Off the Chair Community on Facebook and hit join group. It's free and we'll welcome you in.